Thank you so much for joining. I couldn't be happier. It's actually my second webinar, and I see so many new faces and so many dog guardians joining. And it's not just a confirmation for myself, but actually I couldn't be happier because this means that you are searching for new ways to support your dog. And already by that, I know that your dog is in incredible loving hands. And whenever you will start and search for new solutions, for new care, for any new tools through which you can help your dog, you're going to find them. So thank you so much for being here. And let's dive in. In today's webinar, we're going to look into traditional Chinese medicine specifics, care, food, and other adaptations. Your dog doesn't need more exercise in summer, but they need this instead, is the title of summer webinar. And let me just point out that the content presented here is not a veterinary advice. It's actually based on my own experiences. So if you want to adapt or adjust your care, or especially your food, you should always consult your vet. So welcome. I'm very passionate about sharing this photo. This is me when I was 2 years old. And I'm holding my dad's slippers in my mouth because I was so passionate about dogs already back then. And already I was so fascinated by them. And most probably, I didn't know much back then, but I know about energy, right? And I wanted to be a dog. And I'm sharing this just for you to understand that I'm passionate around them and I love them so much ever since I was actually a baby. And usually you have corporate photos at this one, the first page, but I thought it's actually a good reflection for myself where I wanted to be when I was a kid. And this is also a moment of reflection for you, because in today's world, we are rushing through everything. We have so many things, so many tools. And of course, we drink 1 or 2 coffee and we even have so much energy. If we are not adapting to seasons, we even have our lights on in winter time and we don't allow ourselves to rest. So we're always in this fast-paced life, right? And we often forget what was our passion when we were kids. So my question for today and for the start is, what did you love doing as a child? And do you still make room for those things today? And this is actually a reminder to bring all those small things that make you smile back into your life. Why? Because this is your truest expression. And why? Again, because this won't be only felt by you, but also your dog. They will feel if something is off. And it's not just about how others will perceive us, but we are only here for a certain amount of time. And I really want you to remember, what was your passion? Do you still live by that passion? Or maybe do you have a hobby that makes you feel alive? And let this be a reminder to actually call back those things into your life. I'm Anya, I'm a dog massage therapist. And in my practice, I'm the most passionate on teaching dog guardians how to take care of their dogs holistically. That means this is a whole body approach. And I saw that it's not only dog massage that would help dog live a better life, but I soon realized that it is amazing if you combine it with acupressure, nutrition, care, and also other conscious habits. So we will take a look at the glance of this everything. And let me just point out that, again, every dog is a unique story. And this is why we need to take every single case separately. And I'm going to offer you tools through which you can look at your dog and maybe gain some new insights and, most importantly, new knowledge. So before we dive in, I would like to connect a little bit with you. And I really wanted to know where you're tuning in from. So what country you're from and what city, just to understand where you're tuning in from and maybe understand the time zones. Berlin, amazing. India, welcome. Amazing. I come from Slovenia. That's in Europe. It's a small country, only 2 million people. So it's a feeling like we are living in a bigger village. Switzerland, welcome. And we have mountains, we have lakes, we have beautiful nature. Dublin, Ireland. Hi, Sharon, again. I'm very happy that you connected from all around the world. So before we start, I'm always pointing out that we are not dog owners, but we are dog guardians. And it's also all other way around. So our dogs are our guardians. And what I mean by that, let me do a one step back. So dog owners, I'm not kind of too much of a fan of this saying, because we don't own our dogs. And if you look from this perspective, if we are just making space for them to come into our lives, and if we allow them to teach us what they come to teach us, we can get and we can gain so many new perspectives. And this becomes really important and even more beautiful when your dog is getting old. I see oftentimes again that, of course, we love them and we want to spend as much time with them. And it's really sad when we see them having certain conditions in their life or some certain imbalances, as we call them in traditional Chinese medicine. And in that state, we would do anything to make them feel better. But we often forget that we are just their guardians. And when they become old, this is a whole new time for us to observe. And if we allow them to see and let go of everything that is actually coming, we can find so many beauty in it. And I see oftentimes again that when a dog gets old, or when they have certain condition that we try to cure, we are so stressed and we are almost denying them in that state. But I would really like to invite you to accept your dog even in those conditions, and to say to them, I see you and I accept you even with this certain condition, and I will make space for this. So I won't take you to that therapist, to this therapist, and I'll be as conscious as possible also to not hold that certain emotions in myself, but I will talk with you freely. And I'll also being prepared to see what you came to teach me in this condition. Because the most important thing is they reflect our emotions and our conditions as well. And if, again, we are prepared and grounded enough to see that, we can also find beauty in those states. What will you take away from today? Understanding the summer season and its effect on your dog, how to adjust your dog's nutrition and care in summertime, a somatic practice for conscious dog guardians. So we will also do a somatic exercise that I really love, and it grounds me immediately when I do it. A herbal bowl ritual for summer. And I also have a special announcement. At the end of the webinar, you will be provided with a framework to better understand your dog in summer, because I want to encourage you to look at your dog with your presence, with your full heart, because you also need to know something. In today's world, we have so many solutions and we have so much tools, and we're trained to always look outside for a solution, for somebody else to help us with something. But what nature and traditional Chinese medicine as well teaches us, and also other meditative practices, that we have all solutions inside of ourselves. And also, this is something that our dogs are teaching us. And you have your sense of smell. You see them 24 hours a day, maybe a little less. And you know your dog by heart. And you have this feeling if something is off or if something is good. So I encourage you that you find this power inside of yourself again. And this is what we're going to do today. I'm going to equip you with the framework through which you can look at your dog, maybe on a whole new level. And don't forget, your dog chose you as their guardian for a reason. And if you are prepared to what they came to teach you, this can be, again, an incredible journey. So let me share my story. I have two dogs. This one on the picture is Tisa. Just this Friday, on May the 1st, she's going to be 15. And I couldn't be happier. And I'm so grateful for our journey. And then I have another one that you also see on the slides. She's a Whippet Mila. And Tisa is my heart dog. I have her since she was 4 months old. And I was happy enough to also welcome Mila in my home together with my partner when she was 4 years old. And it's so amazing when you have two dogs. Again, this little Anya is jumping to the moon and back because she has two dogs in her household. And it's always great to do this reflection, right? But back to what I was saying. In November last year, 2025, Tisa had her first neurological episode, and through her whole life, she was healthy. But then it started, and this is when the whole new journey and a whole new learning for me actually happened. And we will take a look at the conventional and also alternative holistic view on this exact case. And this is not to actually say conventional medicine is bad, not at all, but to invite you and to show you to look. Invite you to look through other lenses, and also to know that there are many solutions to a potential problem that you may experience with your dog. So a conventional view on this condition that Tisa had was they did a blood check. Blood tests were great. They even improved over the last 6 months because I improved food. And this is what you can also improve with your dog as well. Her joints were amazing, actually look like those of dog half her age. And they said, she's simply getting older. But I wasn't satisfied with that answer. I mean, she can be old, but that doesn't mean that I will stop trying. That doesn't mean that I will stop searching for new answer, why certain condition happened. And I was just surprised of how we could just close the topic. And they offered medication to ease the symptoms. And they say you can expect her to be a little high. Maybe she can have issues with her balance, which I thought I was actually scared of doing this to her. And I first wanted to understand why this is happening before giving any pill to her and just to, erase the symptoms. And then I started to cure her with frequency healing, with osteopathic craniosacral therapy, herbal therapy. And what I found out was what follows. When she ages, and as she ages, her body grows weaker and she becomes more vulnerable, so more weak. She had her trauma in the puppyhood. So I took her from the shelter at 4 months. But before that, she was actually taken away from a man that tortured her. And I think this is just terrible, but this is how it was. And now when she's getting older, this trauma becomes to surface. And she needs even greater sense of safety because of that acceptance. So she needs more herbal ball rituals. And with frequency healing, in frequency therapy, I gained so much more information about her. The vets, on the other hand, said we can open her head to actually see what is going on, but of course we didn't do that, and there was just a They didn't thought exactly like that, but of course, objectively speaking, probably we would find something. But I'm sharing this just for you to understand how much more information can you get nowadays just with new holistic alternative practices. So I'm not saying that conventional medicine is bad, quite the opposite. I believe that the best approach is conventional plus holistic. We know that conventional medicine excels at crisis, diagnosing what is measurably wrong in the body, good as treating acute conditions, and mostly it is a faster approach, and this is why we oftentimes just reach out to the conventional approach. Holistic, on the other hand, asks more questions, and not just what is wrong, but what pattern created this condition, which season we are in, what the dog is carrying emotionally, and not only about the dog. So their question also about us. So what the guardian's nervous system is contributing to this picture. Of course, holistic offers more layers of support and more tools to reach out, which is amazing. But you need to know that it asks more of you. More patience, most importantly, more learning, and a willingness to look not only at your dog, but honestly at yourself as well. And this is where I see and believe the true healing happens, because it doesn't happen only for your dog, but also for you. And again, the most complete approach is both. Why? You know, again, that conventional medicine is amazing whenever there is certain surgery needed, or we have antibiotics to cure certain infections. But when this is gone, just in my case, last month I had a wisdom tooth removal, and I need to adapt the whole care, food, I needed more rest. So this, what comes after when the body comes in balance, is actually a holistic and alternative approach. But it helped me greatly when I adapted my whole life to it, to make me feel better and to come back to myself even faster. So again, the best approach is combining the two. Holistic methods. I'm not sure how much you're familiar with holistic methods. Let me just see the chat. If you write them something down. Okay, I'll also check if you have certain questions in between. So holistic methods are looking at the body as a whole. So we are not treating symptoms separately, but we believe in interconnected system, and it makes a lot of sense. A symptom in one area is a reflection of something deeper, maybe an imbalance in another organ, a stored emotion that we didn't release, a disrupted energy flow. So holistic care looks at the full picture, physical, emotional, and energetic. And I believe that the true feeling and healing happens when we address the root, not just trying to erase what is on the surface, right? So the key principles are everything is connected. We thrive in balance and in wellness. And every dog is a unique story. And of course, also every person is a unique story. And this is why it's so amazing to have the framework through which you can look to yourself, on yourself, and also to your dog, and actually adapt the whole care. And what we are thriving on in whatever we do is homeostasis. So what homeostasis is? This is a process in which the body maintains a stable internal environment despite whatever is happening on the outside. And we can look to homeostasis through three different angles: autonomic nervous system, rest and digest, or fight or flight response in the nervous system, endocrine system that releases the hormones based on what it senses, and of course, digestive systems that adapts to whatever message it receives. And you need to understand that with dog massage, with acupressure, and with herbal ball therapy, we are actually contributing to the rest and digest state. So the rest state, where the true healing can happen. And we can do that from the outside. What I mean by that, whenever the dogs feel our touch, whenever they smell the scent of the herbal ball, they will connect it, their amygdala will connect it to something nice, and they will say, okay, I felt really good after this session, and I can expect to feel like that again. And this is how the body remembers. And again, this is also how the body can relax. Okay, why did we as a species survive on this planet? And why I'm mentioning that before we dive into certain deeper, it makes a lot of sense. At first, we were nomads. We were traveling all around, and we were actually following the seasons, where it was warmer, where the survival was easier. And we didn't fight nature, we followed it. And we moved where food was plentiful. So this is how we actually, how life was. But then the real breakthrough came when we learned to adapt to those seasons. We understood the nature rhythms, cycles, patterns. And this is where we no longer had to run, but we could stay at one place. We as species survived because we knew how to listen to nature. We could only stay in one place and successfully thrive through everything each season brought. So we survived because we became a part of it. And my question to you is, why are we doing different today? And if we live in accordance with nature, can we do any wrong? Traditional Chinese medicine, or you will also see in short TCM, is an ancient wisdom that is older than 4,000 years. Conventional medicine is not even 2,000 years, right? It teaches us how we can become observers. Yes, also you can become an observer by observing our life, by observing our dogs. Meridians are energetic pathways underneath the skin that are connected to the organs beneath them. And we can also the Qi life force energy that goes through meridians, that flows through meridians. We can affect this by herbal therapy, by acupressure, acupuncture. It's basically the same thing. We are actually pressing on the same spots, but we are using our fingers for acupressure and needles for acupuncture. But we are actually going into the same spots into our body or our dog's body. And they saw that whenever they were working on a certain meridian, on a certain path on the body, a condition in the organ became better. And this is how actually they connected all of that. And in the first written materials that included an animal was actually acupuncture on the elephant. Just a fun fact. So in traditional Chinese medicine, we don't say a disease as in Western terms, but we also look at this from another perspective. So we always say what is out of balance. So what is in balance and out of balance. And I think this is a very beautiful way to look at it. And of course, with different manual therapies, I already mentioned acupuncture, acupressure, and herbal therapy, we are encouraging this flow of the life force energy that each of us and also our dogs have in their body that goes through meridians, and we help to encourage this flow and make the blockages, emotional or any other, to go away. And this is what we are doing. So traditional Chinese medicine was holistic even before it was cool. So, and it points out that nothing exists in isolation. And again, a symptom in one area is rarely just a local problem, but it is a reflection of something deeper. And I'm just pointing out two perspectives. So if our dog is restless, painting, and unsettled in summer, what do? From a conventional glasses, we would say we address each symptom individually. Panting is managed with cooling, restlessness with more exercise, unsettled behavior with training. I'm not sure if I would agree. from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective, we can look through to these states completely on the other way. We understand that all three are expressions of the same imbalance. So this means excess fire element and the heart under pressure. The heart in summer governs the nervous system, the circulation, and the shen, as we call the spirit in traditional Chinese medicine. When this is overloaded, the whole system escalates rather than discharges. We can support the heart through cooling foods, reduced stimulation, acupressure along the heart and pericardial meridians, intentional rest, and the herbal bath protocol. So we address the root, not just the symptoms. Do you see how much more solutions we have? And the connection. So when we talk about traditional Chinese medicine, it makes sense to point out the 5-element theory. And this is not just something woo-woo, right? It's not something made up, but it makes a lot of sense. So those elements are deeply connected in nature, in the universe, and they're constantly influencing one another. If you just look outside and look for the examples from the everyday life, we know that fire melts metal, metal axes chop wood. When a wooden tree falls, it can block the earth. And when the earth piles up, it blocks the water. And when the water floods, it puts out the fire. And this is exactly what happens also in our organs, in our organ systems, or in our dog's organ system. Whenever we have a certain imbalance, also affects other organs. So we also strive for harmony and to make the conversation of these elements ongoing. Yin and Yang, you probably heard about that. So traditional Chinese medicine teaches us about balance. Yin and Yang, you can see that at the side. So this is exactly what we see in the body as well, and everywhere in the universe. We know that all male produce some female hormones, and all females produce some male hormones. In a healthy body, yin and yang keep each other in balance. And when this balance is disrupted, the body loses its ability to protect itself from external factors. And we can see how night has properties of yin, darkness is also yin, moon is yin, and also female is yin in its nature. So I'm pointing out the true nature. Of course, each of them has certain yang inside of them and all the way around. But in its essence, females are yin, cold is yin, weak is yin, small is yin, and so on. Chronic is yin, and yang, you can see this is day, light, sun, sky. Male, it's more outgoing, strong, large, and it's acute. And if we move forward and look through these lenses and try to find out if our dog is yin, cold, or yang, hot, there are 5 questions to find out. So think about that. You can maybe also write this down and you have a reflection, so you will understand this more deeply. Where does my dog likes to rest? Do they seek cold surfaces, or maybe they prefer cozy places and warm or blankets and sunny patches? How does your dog relate to water? Do they drink a lot? Are they constantly thirsty? Or do they drink very little and show very little interest in water? And how does your dog behave in different seasons? Do they struggle in summer and seem more energetic, or comfortable in cooler weather? Or do they slow down in winter and thrive in warmth? And what is your dog's energy like? What is their temperament like? Do they like to be touched? Those are all the questions that can point out if your dog is more cold or more hot. And this doesn't mean that something is bad. It simply shows us that there is something that they need to put in balance, because this is always our goal. For example, if you have a senior dog, they become more yin in their nature, more cold, because they're getting old, they become more slow. And why is this good to know? Because it's very important to give them more warming foods, to also engage them in activities that bring a little bit of fire, not too much, but still to actually contribute to this balance, right? To bring this young a little more up. And this is how we actually make them feel better, and not to actually for them to be in stress. And if we move forward, our dog's traditional Chinese medicine personality. Yes, you heard that right. There are quite a few differences, and every living being, including our dogs, is born with its constitutional type. And this is a dominant element that shapes not only their physical body, but also their emotional patterns. We can see where, what is actually their trigger, where are they the strongest, what is their view on life. It's actually their energetic blueprint. And just as no two dogs look the same on the outside, it's exactly the same on the inside. And we understand what their personality is like if we look through this framework. And most importantly, we know how they will respond to food through maybe meeting new people, new dogs, new environments. How do they respond to stress? This is all very connected. So their element also influences how they relate to us, their guardian. Which organs are they likely to go out of balance? This is a very important information, because then again, we can know what kind of what type of food we can offer them, and what kind of care will nourish them versus what will deplete them. So personalized care here is key. And most importantly, we don't wait for some symptoms to arrive, but we are proactive, and we support the whole being already as we go. And I have a question for you. So can you recognize your dog in this description? Just as we have 5 elements with us humans and our personalities, we, of course, have it also with our dogs. So the wood element is, and their major emotions with this type of dogs are frustration, anger, impatience. Their weaker organs are liver and gallbladder, and they thrive with long walks, nose work, and tasks that give them a sense of direction and accomplishment. The fire element, their emotion is overexcitement. This is usually such an enormous excitement that whenever you come home or maybe see somebody that they love the most, they can also pee themselves. On the other side, there can also be anxiety or restlessness. Their weaker organs are heart and small intestine, and they thrive with bonding activities, with play, and a guardian who is emotionally present and steady. The earth element dog is usually the one who worries a lot, is overthinking, and is full of clinginess. Their organs that are most at risk are spleen and stomach, and they thrive with predictable schedules, with warm, nourishing food, and lots of physical closeness. And we have 2 other ones. Metal element dog is the one that has attachment issues, that it's rigid. Their weaker organs are lungs and large intestine. And what they thrive is calm environments, meaningful one-on-one connection, and most importantly, space to process. Water element dogs usually are fearful or insecure, and their organs that are most at risk are kidneys and bladder, and they thrive with predictability, quiet environments, and herbal energetic support for the nervous system. So did something ring a bell, and you maybe recognize your dog in those descriptions? Conventional versus traditional Chinese medicine, holistic. Why I am talking about that and the dog personalities? Because care in feeding your dog according to traditional Chinese medicine involves first, of course, identifying the dominant element, and then adjusting care and food energetics to balance their unique personality. And what I mean by adjusting food energetics. So the conventional view on the food, for example, we are only counting the calories whenever we are talking about specific foods. But through traditional Chinese medicine lens, we are speaking about the energetic property that a certain food gives us or our dogs whenever we eat it and, of course, digest it. Just think about how you feel whenever you eat, for example, a ginger. You will actually feel that it warms you from the inside. And we actually have a habit of drinking tea with ginger in winter. And why is that? It warms us up. And this is actually how it works. And if we go a step further, we also understand that certain meats, certain vegetables have different properties. And once you understand what type of element is your dog and what they need based on their needs, based on their age, we know how to adapt the food as well. And of course, if you have a puppy or if you have an adult dog without any special condition, they wag their tail, we play along, and everything is fine. But whenever you have a certain imbalance or when they get old and you change the food, believe me, they can come back alive again. And I always say this, I started to adapt Tisa's food, my older dog, when she was 6 years old. And she didn't have any problems up until then. But when I did that switch, she gained so much more energy. She became a whole new dog. I saw how she was actually making very smart decisions, if I can point out. And it was just so funny and amazing to observe. So I hope this encourages you also to do small adaptations, and you will see how your dog feels. Because here, no placebo can work, because you cannot say to a dog, yes, you can eat that and you will feel amazing. No, we just give them food, and if we're lucky enough, they will eat it. I also have a lot of advices on how you can implement or introduce a certain type of food to your dog. And when they eat it, you just see and feel by their energy, and you know it's working. And it's actually it's a very good invitation also to adapt our food as well. So conventional approach is that one size fits all. But on the other side, holistic is individual diet. Conventional is about the raw data, and traditional Chinese medicine, holistic, is about seasonal eating. So adapting again to the seasons. Conventional is treating symptoms, while traditional Chinese medicine and holistic approach is supporting organs even before the imbalance, the disease comes into play or into full span. Of course, I need to point out that always consult your vet before changing your dog's diet. So what should I do? I hope you're not too stressed around it, but you will already do a lot by implementing one small change starting today. So don't feel too stressed around it. Just step by step, and we will take a look at what can you do. It makes a lot of sense to know what kind of and what type of element your dog is. So also, is my dog more yin or more yang, more cold or more hot? And then what is their dominant element? You can probably you could probably maybe find your dog even in 2 descriptions or maybe more, but every dog has its own dominant element. And of course, once we know who are we working with, we know also what kind of food and care we should introduce to them. So what can we actually influence? There are at least 3 factors. In traditional Chinese medicine, we know external factors. So those are environmental mental forces that enter the body from the outside. And what I mean by that, heat in summer or wind in the springtime, dampness, cold, dryness. In summer, the most common pathogens are summer heat and dampness. And we influence this by adjusting the environment we're in, the daily schedule, the diet. In dogs, we can see that by excessive panting, red ears, restlessness, and increased thirst without obvious case or obvious cause. The body is struggling, right, with external heat, and it cannot expel quickly enough. On the other hand, what are internal factors? The 7 major emotions that traditional Chinese medicine recognizes, and these are fear, anger, grief, worry, shock, excess joy, and melancholy. Those are actually a direct cause of disease when they are chronic or unexpressed. So this is why I always encourage dog guardians to express their emotions, because their dog will soak up all of their energy and will actually just become their second self. And I can see this in practice time and time again. So we influence this through conscious nervous system care, through somatic practices, and the guardian's own emotional regulation. A dog living in a household with chronically anxious guardian will develop separation anxiety, digestive issues that are connected with it, and reactivity. And not because something is wrong with the dog or we didn't train them enough, but because they're absorbing the emotional field around them. So certain imbalances just cannot get away whenever, if we're not also taking care of ourselves. And then we also know pathogenic factors, factors that fall outside both categories. So these are poor nutrition, insufficient exercise, and also excessive. We also need to allow our dogs to rest enough. This is maybe even more important than excessive or insufficient exercise. So there are also physical injuries, genetic predispositions, and daily care that is not sufficient enough. So we influence that through conscious care, consistent choices in everyday routine. And we can see pathogenic factors, let's say in a dog that is exposed to long walks in summer heat every day, without cooling nutrition, without needed rest. A dog like this will develop signs of heart imbalance. We can expect restlessness, muscle tension, digestive sensitivity, because of this repeated pattern of care that just does not match what the season is asking for. So we can see that actually we have quite a lot of things that we can impact. In summer, and if you look through that, if you look into summer with traditional Chinese medicine glasses, the main organ is the heart. That means that it's the most active, at the same time also the most at risk. It governs blood, circulation in the body, and the shen, as I mentioned before, the spirit, the consciousness, the emotional center. And how did they actually came to that? Through thousands of years of clinical observation, through patterns of illnesses, behavior, and emotion that consistently appeared in summer. And through all of that, they mapped certain organs and certain elements to certain season. So modern research into circadian rhythm and seasonal cortisol variation confirms the pattern. And this is a mind-blowing information. So again, it's not a woo-woo, it's something very, very real. Emotion in summertime is joy whenever the heart is in balance, and anxiety whenever is out of balance. And this excess fire shows up in our dog as restlessness, hyperactivity, inability to settle. And when the heart is under pressure, and written with a big capital means the heart organ system, this often appears as erratic behavior and emotional dysregulation. So what could be best practices, summer practices for us dog guardians? Slow down the rhythm. Of course, we are used to be very fast. Everything starts to happen. There are many parties, a lot of picnics. We love to be outside because we love the sunshine. This is nice, but it's really important for us to calm down. Maybe choose just one action per day. But most importantly, you don't have to take your dog everywhere with you. Again, they need their rest, but it's also very important that you get some rest. So your heart, your shin doesn't go depleted. So we slow down the rhythm by morning movement. So even before the sun is in its full shine, right? We do the midday rest with no other agenda. We are just close to our dog. We are in the relaxed state. And this can be 5 to 10 minutes, just something, an intentional ritual. Cool from within. We will look into cooling foods, less warming proteins, more water-rich vegetables, gentle rituals, like I mentioned, dog massage, herbal bath therapy, acupressure, and nourish the shen, your spirit. So with intentional touch and presence, and with grounding exercise that we actually going to do just now. So the butterfly hug for conscious dog guardians. This is a somatic practice, and it's actually a bilateral stimulation that activates both sides of the brain at the same time. And it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, so rest state, that helps you feel calm. And this is not just something to feel good, it's actually an amazing practice to treat anxiety, depression, and even PTSD. So how to do it? You can follow along. You put both hands on your chest, like this, and then you gently tap like this. So one hand and the other. So right and left. And you do that for 1 to 3 minutes. So anytime you feel overstimulated or you want to ground yourself, you do this exercise, and you can do it for 1 minute at first, and then prolong it as you need it. But the most important thing is that you choose a calm environment, you take your time, and you try to really ground yourself and feel the rhythm of your hands on your chest. And of course, you breathe slowly. And then when you finish, you put one hand, the left hand on your heart, and the right hand on your stomach. And you do 5 inhales for 4 seconds. And 5 exhales. For 6 seconds. And we repeat it so 5 times. And it's very important that we do 4 inhales for 4 seconds and 6 seconds exhale. So the exhale is longer than the inhale. And we try to feel our heartbeat under our right hand. We relax our belly. And just in this way, with your right hand that you have on your belly, imagine yourself having roots as tree deep into the earth. And this is an amazing feeling of being grounded. And you can feel the rhythm of the earth. So you always have that. And you are always supported. And your left hand on the heart. The heart is your home of Shen, your spirit. This is where your imagination lives. Your wildest dreams. And you can dream. And you can imagine amazing things. So the belly connects you to earth and with the roots. And your heart connects you to the universe, to the expansion. And just imagine yourself being a tree with roots deep into the earth, and your heart as being the top of the tree, the expansion to the universe. And when you align like that, you will always find your center. And this is not only good for you, but your dog will feel it too. And this is even more important in times like this. I'm not sure how you are familiar. We are currently in the fire horse year. And that is actually quite an interesting combination. And it requires a lot of energy. And after the stagnant year, so we invite this fire element, the fire horse, into our year. And we would say, yes, finally, we have energy and everything moves. But don't forget that everything moves. So you can expect a lot of different stimuli, a lot of outside stimuli. And this is why it's very important to ground yourself, really important to take some rest, really important to not to do something out of fear, but out of love. And this is an exercise through which you can remember what your intention is, what your heart is saying to you. And most importantly, in this way, you'll connect to yourself, be an even better person to yourself and to your dog. A summer time through traditional Chinese medicine lens. So summer in traditional Chinese medicine is a biological energetic shift that activates a specific organ, a specific emotion, and specific body patterns. And when we will understand this, the whole cycle, we will also gain the ability to read our signs and read our dogs before a certain problem arises and support them in the best way possible, even right now. Conventional versus traditional Chinese medicine, so holistic. So a Western world waits for the system. When a dog becomes restless, anxious, and digestively sensitive in summer, then it treats all these, as three separate problems. But on the other side, traditional Chinese medicine sees one problem, and this is overloaded heart and excess fire looking for an outlet. So traditional Chinese medicine always reads a pattern. Signs you may recognize in summer. When we have overstimulation and then we have stagnation. We always look at the signs when the heat is rising and when the qi, the life force energy, is in stagnation. So we can see overstimulations as by excessive, unexplained panting, restlessness, inability to settle, increased heart rate, or visible chest pulsing at rest, flushed ears, rank tongue, or warmth along the chest and upper body, excessive thirst, disturbed sleep, or hypersensitivity to sound, light, or touch. Stagnation, on the other hand, so qi, life force energy stagnation that affects the heart. We can see by emotional flatness, withdrawal, so unusual quietness. Again, you know your dog, and when you see something unusual, that can be already a pattern. Anxiety, clinginess without an obvious trigger, erratic or unpredictable behavior, separation anxiety is worsening, and tension along the sternum and the chest. We can also see digestive issues, and in some dogs, also excessive vocalization, whining, or attention seeking. There are quite a few signs, but it's important maybe for the first step to remember this. The emotion of the summer is joy, whenever, of course, we have fire element in balance. So joy is the element of the fire element and the heart. And it's balanced it's exactly what summer should feel like for you and your dog. Playfulness, warmth, easy connection, easygoing, and contentment in your presence. A dog expressing balanced joy is engaged, but not frantic, social, but not overwhelmed, active, but able to rest, This is the heart functioning as it should, open, in circulation, and at ease. Anxiety, whenever we have excess fire element in summertime. When the fire element rises beyond what the heart could hold, joy tips into its shadow, and this is anxiety. This is the dog who cannot settle, who paints without obvious cause, and who seeks constant contact, but cannot truly relax into it. So anxiety. Then we also have fire deficiency. When fire burns out rather than rises, the dog withdraws. Reduce interest in play, we can see reduce interest in interaction, or maybe even food. A flatness that can look like tiredness, but runs deeper. The heart no longer has enough chi, the life force energy to animate the shen, the spirit. And this is a dog who seems fine on the surface, but deep down has a lot of issues. And this is a very, very important emotion to look into, because it is just as much a summer imbalance as the restless, the painting one, right? This is, again, a dog can see fine, the dog can seem fine on the surface, but if we know our dog, then we know that something is wrong. And we can go deeper to find the solutions. And the three states that we can see in summertime, the most common one are restlessness, panting, and gut sensitivity. So what looks like three separate problems on the outside in conventional view is actually an of one traditional Chinese medicine pattern, and that is heart fire rising with spleen life force energy in the spleen deficiency. Let me explain that. In the 5-element cycle, fire feeds earth. And we saw how in the star, how elements and organs are connected. So fire, heart element in the summer, feeds earth, which is split organ, in the late summer. And when this fire is excessive, it overgenerates heat in the digestive system, causing gut sensitivity and inflammation. Can you see how disconnected it is? And restlessness, painting, and gut issues are the same fire, the same cause, expressing in different organs. And what science adds to this? The gut-brain axis confirms this. Stress and nervous system dysregulation directly alter gut microbiome. So a dog in high cortisol state will show digestive symptoms alongside behavioral ones. And traditional Chinese medicine, this mapped way before neuroscience named it. And let me do also another step forward. Even your high cortisol state can affect your dog. We are not only connected by emotions, we are connected by the same heartbeat, by the rhythm of our breaths, and we are actually the environment our dogs live in. So this is why we're doing these exercises. This is why we are asking about our emotions. And this is why it's so important to work on ourselves. Not just always to thrive for the better, but I'm pointing this out to come closer to ourselves. Cooling your dog from the inside. So what can we do in summertime? We have cooling proteins, vegetables, herbs, and bitter foods. So bitter is the flavor of the summer. And you can play around and you can prepare meals, or if you just new to this and your dog is eating kibbles, you can already do a small step ahead and you can introduce duck or rabbit meats. Those are cooling in its essence. As I described before, every food in traditional Chinese medicine has its own energetic properties that we intake while we eat them. And it's the same with our dogs. So in summertime, when there is external heat, like external factor, if we would actually put hot meats into our dog's bowl, so lamb, venison, beef, you can see that there is hot on the outside, hot on the inside, and this is not balanced. What we want to do, and this is why we looked into yin and yang, we are always striving to maintain balance. And this is why whenever we have hot on the outside, we are helping our dogs with introducing cooler foods. So we maintain this balance. I also pointed out whitefish, turkey, which is neutral, but still good to add. And we should add this as stable, the main base. And again, reduce lamb that is very hot, and venison and beef. And if if your dog is only eating kibble, I suggest that you do this transition slowly. Maybe it's also very good if you actually cook the meat, not putting immediately raw, because then you can see some digestive issues. But do the transition slowly, and always consult your vet before doing these changes. You can also introduce cooling vegetables, for example, zucchini, cucumber, watermelon, but without seeds. That is very important because seeds can be toxic. Pear or water-rich and energetically cool foods. So I wanted to point out here, if your dog is not used to eat vegetables, how I do that on my side. For example, I have beetroot juice, which is amazing for your dog, especially for their blood. Whenever, if you will try to introduce the food and just put it raw in their bowl, if you put that on your tongue, it's not really something that you would call it invitable, or how to say, inviting, because it's cold. It doesn't give much flavor. But if you will slice it, or for example, what I do with beetroot juice, so I don't have beets, but I have juice. It's completely natural, 100%. And I just pour a little bit of it into my dog's bowl, into their meat, so they can get familiar with the taste. And then in time, you can also increase the amount of the juice. So all of that things you should really introduce in small amounts, because it's not always recommendable to, usually some people think, oh, that's so amazing. It has amazing properties. So I'll put as much as I can into my dog's bowl. No, because this can do more harm than good. So you always need to know about the exact amount. And you cannot do any harm, again, if you do in small amounts. Cooling herbs, dandelion leaf, chamomile tea. Yes, your dog can drink tea. Of course, if it's cold, you can, again, pour a little bit into your dog's bowl. Or parsley. I really like to chop it and ground it. And this is how they can really eat it easier. And bitter foods. So bitter flavor has a cooling, drying, and descending action. So dandelion leaves, kale, lightly steamed. And again, this is suitable for dogs in correct doses. The general rule, let me just take my charger, because I see my battery will go out. Okay, the day is saved. The general rule is that we feed against the imbalance, not with it. So a young dog in a hot season gets cooling food, and a young dog in winter gets warming food. We're always working toward the balance, not reinforcing what's already excessive. And how do you know if you've gone too far? Watch for signs of excess heat, red eyes, panting, restlessness, skin inflammation, excessive thirst, and too much cooling, lethargy, loose stools, low energy, seeking warmth. The body will always tell you. So pay attention and allow yourself to see. You have to slow down and learn to observe your dog through different angles. And we live in a world of seasons. And what I mean by that, the seasons of nature, the seasons of emotions, and the seasons of our dogs' lives. And you've seen how we can look at our dog's care through the lens of the season, of the summer, and there is so much more to explore. So just as there are so many different states our dogs might be in, conditions, you can see how many different, let's say, approaches we can have. So it's not just about just one approach or being lost. Traditional Chinese medicine offers us quite a few angles that we can reach out to. And this is something that I would really like for you to see. And as the last thing of today is Herbal Ball Summer Ritual that I also implement to my dogs. So, and this is the area that we should look into more closely. And you can see the herbal ball that I use. So there are herbs and other ingredients wrapped into a bowl like this. And when we warm it up, heat it up, it releases beautiful smell from the herbs that are speaking directly to your dog's nervous system. And we were talking before about how our dogs communicates scent to feel good emotions. And of course, the warmth from the herbal ball communicates directly to their nervous system, because as puppies, that was actually their first sense of security, because they sense that with their mother. And whenever they have pain and wherever they have anxiety, this is something that cures them from the inside out. And I always say this is a beautiful, beautiful shelter of love that you can offer, especially dogs in pain, especially senior dogs. And what I do is, I hope you see my mannequin. So I always go on the shoulder area, I warm it up and go. So it's just below the neck because the front of your dog's body carries 60% of the body weight. And it's even more if your dog has, for example, injury somewhere. So 60% of your body weight is at all times on your front, on the front of your dog's body. And this is the area that is in the most stress. And of course, in summer, when we are more outside, this region absorbs even more load than we often realize and that they are used to. So a herbal ritual in this area is amazing because it helps to flush away metabolic weights, increases blood circulation, and supports muscle recovery. So warm herbal ball is not only to warm the body, but it can actually serve as a cooling therapy. So you can understand now why. I work in slow circular movements along the shoulder blade and down the front of the legs. So I press it down, so I warm up the area, increase the blood flow, and then I do slow movements like this over the area so I can stretch a little bit as well. And again, you can see the full herbal ball protocol and the certain movements inside of my Conscious Dog Owners membership, so you can follow along. And as I pointed out, this is not just a physical recovery, it's a moment of intentional presence because we take our time, nothing else is important, and we are just there with our dog. And we are actually communicating to them without words. You can rest now. I love you. I'm here with you. We don't have to rush anywhere, and you're safe. And believe me when I say that, when my Tisa had periods of her neurological episodes, and I couldn't be happier that she's still with me and that on Friday she'll be 15 years old. And I could cry just to think of what we've gone through and where we are today. It's very difficult to see your dog breathing heavily, and she was breathing heavily for an hour. Her heart rate was up And I knew at that moment that I cannot do anything than just be with her, fully present, and just offer her myself as her anchor, as her anchor. And then because I know how she loves herbal I warmed it up and I place it on the root chakra that communicates safety. And what I saw was something profoundly beautiful. Her heart rate went down, so it slows down. She started to snore and she fall asleep. And this is something that I wish all dog guardians could offer to their dogs in need or dogs in pain. And this is why I'm so passionate about teaching you all the things that you have at hand and that you are aware that you have this power inside of you, and with your hands you can help your dog. And what is even more beautiful is that your dog trusts you. Your dog feels safe with you. And this is where the true healing can happen. Of course, you can take your dog to the therapist, but you have this power and your dog chooses you over any other guardian. And there's a reason behind it. And be open to it, that you learn new things and that you communicate without words, because this is one of the most beautiful bonds there is. So we came to a conclusion and to end of this presentation. Thank you so much for your presence. And if I want something for you to take out of this webinar, is stay present with your dog. At the same time, you will be present with yourself, because this is where the true healing can happen. Thank you so much and have a beautiful day ahead. Bye.